joined us. We are using Nearpod to go through the presentation today. The link is in the chat function. Again, that's on the toolbar on the bottom of your Zoom. You can also join us by going to join.nearpod.com, and the code is also in the chat. It's WXYJU. WXYJU. When you get to Nearpod, it's going to prompt you to just put in a name, put in your first name, whatever you're comfortable with, and then go forward, and then it will pause until Stephen is ready to roll.
All right, we have 17 people, so I'm going to go ahead and start. If you're still getting in, I think you can still get in as I'm presenting. So one thing about Nearpod is whatever is on your screen in the slide deck, if there's some sort of interactive item, you'll only be able to access it while I have it on my screen. So I'll give you a warning when I'm going to change slides, but if you're looking at something, it'll go away, and I don't want that to surprise you. All right, so I have my first slide up there. Can somebody just give me a thumbs up that you can see that? All right, awesome. All right, so the stock market game, I'm going to teach you about that tonight, what it is, why your kids should participate, and how do you do it. So I work at Richland 2. I work at Bridge Creek Elementary School. I've been doing the stock market game for many years, and I think it's a great way to expose kids to financial literacy. The more we can get kids exposed to that, the better off they will be. And that's why you guys are all here, and I'm a big believer in that. So your objective today is to leave this workshop with determination that you're going to sign some students up and you're going to be an advisor and get some kids participating in the stock market game. And hopefully you might leave with one idea, at least one idea that you learned about tonight that you can use to engage your students. So what is the stock market game? I might abbreviate it as SMG as I'm presenting, but it introduces students in grades 4 through 12 to saving and investing through an online simulation of global capital markets. So it's going to use real world data from the New York Stock Exchange and the NASDAQ Stock Exchange in a simulation. So students are put in teams. It is a team-based activity, and the team has their own online access or user ID, and they can go in and see how they're doing, and they trade, make trades, and manage their initial $100,000 that every team starts with. So they can do real-world research and choose real stocks that are sold on New York Stock Exchange and NASDAQ. And so they're buying real stocks at the real prices, and as those stocks change in the real world from day to day, the value of their portfolio changes along with the real value of the stocks in the real world. So students are trying to increase the value of their portfolio with cash, stocks, maybe mutual funds, and when the game ends, whoever has the highest value is the winner. And there's rankings. The rankings are constantly updated every day and to see how your team is doing versus the competition throughout the state. The teams will compete at their grade level, but you can also see how you're competing against all the grades. But there will be prizes awarded by SC Economics for elementary school competition, middle school, and high school. So why should you do it? I believe it has a positive influence on students. They're more engaged. They're not just getting lectures. Better engagement leads to better academic performance, and they're learning financial literacy skills that are so important. Hopefully they all leave the session with better savings habits that'll pay off for them in the future. We have a pretty big debt problem in America now, people getting into debt, so hopefully they'll learn about saving their money for the future. And as they research and buy stocks and see how their stock prices change up and down, that'll naturally lead to an awareness of what's happening in current events and out in the worldwide news. So that's a great connection there. And they're going to actually have to use math and economic skills and social studies skills in a real world application. So it's not just worksheets and book stuff. It's just like a financial advisor or you as your own investor does in your current life. All right, so this slide contains a video. let's see. So this is just a testimonial. I'll play it, and just another voice on why the stock market game is great.
On my end, I think that you'll be able to hit play and play it yourself. So we'll give you a couple of minutes. We'll give you a minute or two to watch the video, and then we'll come back and talk about it.
All right, hopefully everybody got to see the video. I'm gonna move on. So students will work together in teams. And so through teamwork, they're naturally gonna get better at caring, collaboration, communication. Some people are gonna step up and be leaders and learn how to negotiate. And for their team to be successful, they're probably gonna have to be good organizers. So they'll be working on all those skills while they're playing the stock market game. All right, so why else should you use it? It's good for you too, not just the kids. You're going to increase your understanding of investing, which hopefully will lead to better financial decisions in your personal life. But you don't have to be an expert to do this. The game site has all kinds of teacher support, plus you have access to me via email. Chandler's there for you. She does a great job. And the greatest thing is SC Economics makes this free for us, and your students have a chance to win prizes. All right, I'm not going to talk too much about standards, but obviously we all know that's important, but it wouldn't be too hard to look through the standards and find several that you could check off as you're participating in the stock market game and teaching the lessons that go along with it. So it can be standards based, and you're not just something extra you have to do. So how do you get started? You got to decide what students are going to do it. You have to decide when, what session you're going to choose, and I'll show you where you go to do it. So there's 3 sessions listed already. There's a fall session that's starting in 11 days. There's also a year-long session that starts in October and runs all the way through the spring. And then the spring session starts in the beginning of February through April. So the fall and spring sessions are about, I guess, 2 months long for the most part, a little over 2 months. So you're going to have to assign your students to teams, 3 to 5 students per team, and then you will register at stockmarketgame.org. We're going to give you access to these slides and these directions, so I won't go through them, but you'll just follow these directions on registering. It's not too hard. And you're going to make your best estimate of how many teams you're going to need, and go ahead and register. And if later you need to add or delete teams, Chandler can help you with that as well. So don't feel like you have to have it all set in stone before you go ahead and register. And so I registered today, actually. I registered 18 kids, 5 teams. And once you register, you'll get an email back that says you're registered. And then even today, I already got my user IDs for myself. The teacher has a user ID and password, and then every team will have their own user ID and password. And that already came today. So it's a quick turnaround. All right, other things you need to do. You do need to decide on logistics for the IDs and passwords because they're not user friendly. They have underscore characters and Z's that look like capital, or 2's that look like capital Z's and things like that. So just writing it down and handing it to a student is probably going to get lost. And even if you give it to them on paper, they're probably going to type it wrong. And even though you can walk over and type it and it'll work, but for some reason they just say, I can't get it. But so you'll need to think about that, and I'll show you how I handle it with technology. And also you'll want to decide how you want to keep up with how they're doing and how their stocks are doing. The game will keep up all of it for you. It does all the calculations, and they don't have to do anything. But if you want them to do things, and I'll show you what I have my kids do, you'll need to think about that. A good first team building activity is to have the teams decide on a team name. And once they have a nickname, they can give it to you. And as long as it's appropriate, you will have access to put that team nickname in. And so when the rankings come up, instead of just seeing their their generic user ID, they'll actually see their team nickname, and that makes it more interesting for them as they look at the rankings. And so then you want to introduce students to the concept of saving and investing. And I use the word introduce for a reason. I don't think you need to go deep into teaching them a lot about stocks. Just an introduction of what it's all about, and then let them get started. Nobody really understands stocks really the nuts and bolts of it too deep, unless you work on the floor of the stock exchange, I guess. But just give them the basics and let them go and see what happens. And really, you can go as deep into the financial concepts as best fits your students' needs and the class you're teaching. All right, so this is how I introduce the game. I start with a little PowerPoint slide. I tell them when the dates of the game are, and I explain that they get $100,000 virtually. And just right there, there's a great lesson for elementary school teachers. What does $100,000 mean? I mean, what does that number mean? How many $10 bills is that? How many $50 bills is that? How many things could you buy out of a magazine with $100,000? So you could do a lesson just on that. And I also tell them the team with the most money at the end of the day wins, but it's not really money. It's not the cash they have on hand. It's the value of their stocks, because most of what they're going to have is stocks and not cash. And so it's the value at the end of the game is what determines who wins or loses and what your ranking is. All right, so I start with a little lesson about savings, and all the kids can relate to having something at home where they save their money. And so I think I have a little interactive thing to get you involved now. And so hopefully you see this and you can put in your answers. I want you to think, you can think like an adult or think like a kid, and just put bullet items. What are some good things and bad things about saving your money someplace at home? So as you think of anything good, anything bad, just pop it in there. It can be more, you can do one at a time, just pop them in there. There we go. Could be stolen. We got no interest. You lose it. It's not secure, not safe. Maybe it's bad if you can get to it all the time. And with Nearpod, you can like other people's responses, click on the heart. All right. So I'll move on. Sorry if I cut you off, but hopefully this leads to the thought of, you guys mentioned no interest, but what I really want the kids to think is about inflation, the concept of inflation, that they just have $1 and they save it in their piggy bank. 100 years ago, they could have bought 20 candy bars with it and felt pretty rich. Now with that $1, you can't even buy one candy bar. So if your money's just sitting somewhere in a piggy bank, you're actually getting poorer every day because things are getting more expensive through the years. And so you really want your money to grow. You want it to grow like a plant, and you get more money as it's sitting there. And so then you guys mentioned interest. So I teach my kids about interest, and this is how I make it real for them. So I don't think I'll be able to do this virtually because our school is virtual right now. But this is what I would do when my kids were coming to me in person. So when they first came to my first session of the stock market game, I would give them a nickel as a thank you for signing up to join my club. And they would come in, and on my table, I would actually have a box of animal crackers, a bag of Tootsie Rolls, a bag of Hershey Kisses sitting up on the table. Their mouths would be watering. Kids love candy, love food. And I would tell them right up front that if somebody wants to be a consumer, which is totally fine, then I run the candy store. And if somebody wants to give me their nickel, they can buy an animal cracker right there at that second. I'll hand it to them, and they can pop it in their mouth and have a tasty snack. But once they do that, they're sort of out of the activity, and that's totally fine. But some people choose to do that. Normally, maybe 10 to 20% of the kids will choose to do that. But then I also tell them that there's another option. They can save their money. So now I have to put on a different hat and say, now I'm not working at the candy store. Now I'm Mr. Banker at Mr. Bidwell's bank. And if you are willing to let me hold on to your nickel, then the next time we meet, your money will have gotten interest. You'll have earned interest. And the interest that I pay is 1 penny. Every time we meet, we get an extra penny. And so if they had their eye on a Tootsie Roll, when they come back the next time, they would have access to their money. They could pull out their initial investment of 5 cents plus their interest of 1 penny, and they'd have enough money to buy a Tootsie Roll. If they had their eye on the Hershey Kiss, they could let me hold on to it longer. They would get another penny of interest to add up to 7 cents, and they could buy a Hershey Kiss. And so I also take the opportunity to explain that while I'm holding on to their money, I could go do something with it. That's sort of my business. But they have faith that I will give it. It'll be there when they want it to come back. And even if I got robbed or I lost the money, I'm still guaranteed they'd get their money back. And that can get into just a little lesson about FDIC and how their money's insured at the bank. It's a safer place to put it than leaving it in a piggy bank at home. And I do my stock market game weekly. And so I do 1 penny of interest per week. But if you have classes every day and you wanted to do it 1 penny a day, that would work fine. Even if you had a home room and you wanted to do the whole lesson in 1 day, you could start in the morning with the nickel. You could come back at lunch and say you've earned 1 cent of interest, come back in the afternoon and you've earned 2 cents of interest, and you could just do it all in 1 day. Now, because I do it every week, I let the kids keep saving because surprisingly, a lot of kids just want to keep saving. And so they'll come back 2 months later. After the second week or the third week, I guess, I don't even mention it anymore. But I'll keep track of their money. And when they come back 2 months later, they might say, Mr. Bill, well, I'd like to get some Hershey Kisses today. Do you still have my money? And all I've got to do is look at a calendar and count up how many weeks it's been and add that number of weeks to the initial 5 cents to know how much money they have. And so I might look at some kids' account and say, oh, you got 24 cents. And they're like, oh, I want to buy 3 Hershey Kisses. And okay, I give them the 3 Hershey Kisses and then I give them the 3 cents of change. Now, if it's less than 5 cents of change, I'll just give them the pennies and I say, you're done. I'm not keeping track of that anymore. It's too much trouble. But some kids will, 24 cents, they'll say, oh, I only want 1 Tootsie Roll. Leave the other 18 cents in there, and then I'll just keep counting from there. So surprisingly, a lot of kids want to save, and they'd like to see their money accumulate, and they like to ask me and say, how much money do I have now? So hopefully it's sinking in that their money can grow a little bit in the bank. Now, I then put it into a slide just to get them a perspective of how that applies to $100,000 over a 1 year time. If for somehow you got 5%, that would be an extra 5,000. More realistic is 1%. Even that's not really realistic nowadays. But in our game, in the stock market game, the stock market pays an interest of 0.75%, which is actually pretty good, which would be $750 after 1 year. But remember that most of the sessions are only 2 months. So they might get $200 extra money in their account, and they're not going to win the game just leaving their money in the bank. First of all, they can't play the game just leaving the money in the bank. It's boring, but they're not going to beat some team that's investing. And so then I explained that there's another way to get a lot of return, way more than 10%, way more than $10,000, even in 2 months' time, if you're willing to take a chance. So even with these slides right here, it's a great opportunity. You could mix in math. We have decimals. We have 0.75 is less than 1. We have percentages. Lots of math that you could have them do the calculations on their own. So a lot of chances to get math into the program right there. So then I tell them that yes, you can do better than the bank, you can invest. And normally my example that I go to is a jacket. Let's say they buy a special jacket for $100 and they come to school and they don't have their $100 anymore, but they have a jacket that's worth $100. So they're still as rich as they were when they started. But let's say there's a kid that comes up and say, I really like your jacket. Can I buy it? I'd like to pay $105 for it. Well, now that kids actually want it for more than they paid for it, they're richer than they were. They're actually richer, even though they don't have money in their pocket. They have something that's worth more than what they started with. On the other hand, if they damage the jacket, get a stain on it, then somebody might be willing to buy it for $95, but now they're actually poorer than when they had the $100 in their pocket. So that's how I explain that stocks are exactly the same thing. I don't go into any more about stocks at this time at all. Just it's a chance that you can get richer or you can get poorer. All right, so it's a little overwhelming for kids at this point to say, okay, we're going to go buy some stocks, pick your stocks and let's roll. And we're going to go buy them in the game. There are thousands and thousands and thousands of stocks to choose from. And so to help them sort of narrow it down and just get a little taste of what stocks are, I start with an activity where I give each kid an index card and have them write numbers 1, 2, and 3 on it. And I'm going to have you guys sort of do the same activity like I would with the kids, only just much faster than I would the time I'd give the kids. So hopefully you have a piece of paper handy somewhere, just a scratch piece of paper, something that you could write on. If not, you can at least think it through in your head. But I'm going to try to give you all the instructions sort of up front, show you a few things, and then give you access to things on Nearpod. But if I change the screen, you'll lose the access. So we'll have to sort of go in steps. But the first stock that you're going to write down, it all comes from something that's a favorite to you. So I ask the kids, what's something that's your favorite product or service or something they really like? They think about it. I try to help them associate that with the company. And then it's got to be a company that we can actually buy a stock on. So this can be difficult because a kid might say, I like Pelican snow cones, and there's no stock for that. So I tell them, let's pick something else. It also can be difficult because they could pick something like Olive Garden restaurants. They love to go to Olive Garden. Well, you need to do a little research and find out that you can't buy stock in Olive Garden, but Olive Garden is owned by a bigger company called Darden Restaurant Group, and you can invest in that. So you can explain to the kid, well, if you like Olive Garden, you can invest in Darden Restaurant Group, and you're sort of investing in Olive Garden, and that can be the stock they write down. So the ultimate goal is to think of one thing they like associated with the stock, write that down, figure out what the ticker symbol is. The ticker symbol is like the secret code or the initials for the stock. I teach them about that, and then what the price is. So when you're doing this, think of something that's your favorite. You can go to a new tab in your Google and just type in, you could type in Darden Restaurant stock, and it would pull up a sort of a generic Google screen for stocks. It'll show the company name. It'll have a big black numbers as the price. You can write that down, and then you'll also be able to find the ticker symbol in there. I believe it's DRI. But so you can play around with that when I let you loose. But let's listen to all the directions first. So that'll be stock number 1, something that they really like. The idea behind stock number 2 is to not rely on themselves, but get a recommendation by somebody who's more knowledgeable. So a lot of time I say, okay, this is your homework assignment. Go home and ask your parents or an adult what stock they recommend you invest in. A lot of times they'll come back and they haven't done their homework. That's fine. They could go on the internet, or you could go on the internet and type, stock recommendations. You can get ideas that way. At least it's from somebody who's more knowledgeable than you. But if they haven't done either one of those, I have an attached stock table. It's provided by Edward Jones. And so I'm going to let you see this. I don't know what you're seeing now though. Chandler, what can they see on the screen?
Yeah, it loads the stock table.
Okay, so you see the stock table, and it's got a lot of stocks. I want you to go in there and find one stock that you like, but it has to say buy in the opinion. The opinion is the second column over from the name next to the ticker symbol, and it has to say buy. Buy means that Edward Jones, who's a reputable stock market analyzer, they think it's a good investment, you should buy it. So that would be stock number 2. Now, stock number 3 is going to be something randomly selected, like pin the tail on the donkey. And this is the way we're going to do this. So let me just show you, and then we'll come back and do one thing at a time. So there is a website that I think you'll have access to.
Yeah,
Chandler,
it'll ask you to, it'll say click to open, and if you click to open the website on the Nearpod, it'll give you access to that website.
Okay, but before you do it, let me just explain it. in the game, you have access to the New York Stock Exchange or NASDAQ. There's a drop-down menu at the top above the letters where it says exchange. You can click on that and pick either New York Stock Exchange or NASDAQ. So what I have the kids do is I give them a coin and let them flip a coin, with heads being one and tails being the other. If you don't have a coin handy, grab a coaster, anything you can flip up in the air, and that'll randomly assign you to the New York Stock Exchange or NASDAQ. Then I'll have them flip it again, where one side is going to represent your first initial. So let's say I flip it up, it could be either represent an S for Stephen, or if I flip it and it gets on the other side, it would be B for Bidwell. And what that's going to decide is what letter of the alphabet you're going to click on, because at the top it has A through Z. So first you pick your exchange, then they pick the alphabet, the letter of the alphabet that matches your first or last initial. And then I want you just to close your eyes and scroll up and down on this huge long list of stocks, and wherever your cursor ends up when you open your eyes, that's the stock I want you to write down, with one caveat. I want you to look at the price to the right and make sure it's greater than $3. The stock market game doesn't let you buy stocks that are less than $3. So if you get something that's less than $3, or if it just has a funky name that just seems, you don't like it, or it's weird, like some trust or something like that, don't write that down. But if you just see some company name and you don't recognize it, that's okay. Write it down. It could be the next greatest company that's going to win the game for you. I have them write it down. It's like pin the tail on the donkey. It's totally random. And that's their stock number 3. So I'm going to go back to this slide. Those are the 3 stocks I want you to write down. And then we're going to, eventually we're going to try to do a little breakout room if we have time. All right. So let's give us, well, first I want you to do the first one. Think of something your favorite and write that stock down. And now I'm going to go to the second slide and leave this slide up for a little bit so you have access to the Edward Jones stock table. We'll leave that there for maybe 3 or 4 minutes. And then I'm going to go to the next slide so you can access that website. You can always get these things just off Google. Just Google Edward Jones stock table, or Google, or go to that website that I share with you. But if you want to do it through Nearpod, I'll just go slowly so you can do those 3 things. All right, Chandler, you think we got it?
I think we got it. So you want any particular number in the breakout rooms?
Well, no, just don't do that yet. I want everybody just to have their 3 stocks down and we'll be done by, let's say, within 7 minutes, or let's say 5 minutes. We're done by 7:37. All right.
Got it.
So do I need to click on this, or can they click on it now and they can see the stock table?
So now you can see the stock table now, so they'll be able to do the second one.
Okay, I'll leave it there for a few minutes. And if you're totally confused, just put a question in the chat and we'll try to help you. Your goal is to have 3 stocks on your paper when you're done. Something you like, something that somebody recommends. If you want to yell across the room to your significant other and say, hey, what do you recommend? That's a recommendation too. The second one's a recommendation, and the third one is totally random. With your eyes closed, pick a stock. All right, I'm going to switch this slide to the one where you can access this website. So Chandler, they can see that now?
Yes.
All right, so again, pick either New York Stock Exchange or NASDAQ randomly, and then pick either your first initial or your last initial randomly so you know what letter to click on. And that'll be your third stock as long as it's greater than $3. All right, what do you think, Chandler? Should I move on?
I'm good. I think we're good. Thumbs up if y'all are good. Give me a thumbs up. Even if you don't see Zoom, I can see you. That's not creepy. Perfect.
All right, so hopefully you had 3 stocks. Now, normally what I do with the kids, we sort of just put that away for the time being, and then I go to another activity. I just have a quote here that I love this quote. By itself, the price of a stock doesn't tell you a thing about whether you're getting a good deal. Kids, when they see big numbers, they think, ooh, it must be better, but it doesn't really matter. Sometimes companies don't even like big numbers. Apple, for example, did a stock splits to get their stock price lower to make it more appealing. But kids see bigger and they think better. In fact, a lot of times the lower price stocks are the ones that are going to change the most, and that's what it's all about, how much they change, and that's how you can get a better return. All right, so like I said, we put those stocks things aside, and this is another activity I do with my kids that I really like, that they're sort of learning the process, but it doesn't have anything to do with stocks at first. So can they see it, Chandler, now?
Yes, they can.
All right, so you can sort of scroll down it, I guess, at your own pace, but I'm going to just read it. I chose all the words for a purpose, but I'm just going to read it out loud. It says, imagine your team has to host a party. So this is the team that they've been assigned to, their stock market team. Your team decides that you will put out different types of candy at the party for your guests to enjoy. Look at the list on the next page and choose which candies you think will be a big hit with your guests. You will put these out in different bowls at your party. You can choose as many as you like, but you have to choose at least 3 different types. You can't choose all of them. Don't choose candies that you think your guests will not like. You can look up the candies that you don't know about on the internet to see if you want them at your party. Don't worry about the prices listed next to each candy. Circle the ones you want to have at your team's party, one final sheet per team. So that the kids are given this, and their goal is to circle the ones they want. So all these are real candies. I did a lot of research to find real candies. Probably they don't sell them anymore, but they were real at one time, and somehow, I can't remember how, but I came up with prices. But I tell them not to look at the prices, just, you know, they can go on Google and type the candy name in it, and it'll pop up and they'll see a picture, and they enjoy doing that. They love candy. And so I try to limit how many candies they choose because they like them all, so they end up with too many circles. And you'll see soon that having too many just makes maybe too much work. And I try to keep it down to maybe 12 or 10 or 12. If there's maybe 4 people in the group and they're picking too many, you can say, how about each person only gets 3, and maybe that's a total of 12 or something like that. But I try not to force kids to do anything, but I try to guide them a little bit. All right, and so once they have done that activity, they get the next page. The next page instructions say, write the names of each candy you want at your party on the lines below. Next, imagine that you have $100 to spend on the candy. Next to each candy, write how much of the $100 you want to spend on each. Remember, the total money for each candy must add up to $100. All right, so again, if they had way too many, that would be a lot of work to make all those decisions. But if they have 10 or 12, they've got to decide how to divvy up the money. So it's like going into a grocery store with $100. They need a budget. And so they can do it even distribution, or they can do more for this candy and less for that candy. I just want it to add up to $100. So this is a good math exercise, and you can use pie charts to sort of help them grasp it. Division for little kids, that how do you get a good number? You can do division, 100 divided by how many candies to get a good number. But a lot of math involved in this, and this is not easy for kids to do it all. This is challenging for elementary school kids, but I think it'd be fun for anybody. All right, so once they do that, they have their list of candies and they have their dollars they're going to spend on each candy. They get the next sheet. The next sheet has them write the names of the candies you plan to buy for your party, again on the lines below. So they got to write it all over again in the first 2 columns. In the 4th column, write down in the next column how much you want to spend on each. Oh, sorry, that's the 2nd column. In the 4th column, write down how much a 1-ounce piece of that candy costs. The prices are on the list where you circled. So they go back to that list of candies. That's where they're going to use that price. They're going to write that price down in column 4. And then they have to do a division problem, which they'll need a calculator for that. It's not, it's going to have a lot of decimals. No need to do that long division. Give them a calculator, and if you want them to practice rounding, you could have them round the answer, but they're going to get an answer with a bunch of decimal places. I just tell my kids, just read up to the decimal place and write it down, because we only want whole numbers. This is going to tell you how many pieces you need to buy. All right, so they do that, and then they were actually ready to play the stock market game. They don't realize it, but now you're ready to play the stock market game. Instead of type of candy, your team's decision will be what stocks you want to invest in. Hopefully you chose candies that you thought would be popular with your guests. Think the same way. Choose companies to invest in that you think will be popular with consumers. In other words, companies that you think will make a profit in the future with goods or services that people will be willing to pay for. Now, instead of dividing up $100 among the different type of candies, your team will divide up your $100,000 among the different stocks you choose. The numbers will be similar, just with an extra 3 zeros in the end. So instead of $12 on M&Ms, it'll be $12,000 on stock XYZ. The next questions to answer are, what is the ticker symbol for your stocks, and what is the current price for one share? The only difference between this and the candy exercise is changing the words price for a 1-ounce piece to price for one share. A share is another name for a piece of company. They don't even need to understand shares really at this point. I mean, you can go off on a tangent and explain about shares, but then they're going to do the division problem just like the candy exercise, and the answer is going to tell them how many shares they have to buy. Because in the stock market game, which is a little different than the real life, you can't, in the real life, you could go into your broker and say, I want to buy $500 worth of Apple, and it would divide up how many shares you get, even decimal shares. But in the stock market game, you have to tell the game how many shares of the company you want. So they needed to be able to do this kind of math and get how many shares they get. Because if kids don't do it, they're not going to realize if they just buy 10 shares of Apple and then 10 shares of something else, they didn't get the same value. One stock might only cost $5 and the other stock might cost $500. So they need to understand that with the $5 stock, they're going to have to buy a lot more to get a significant piece of their portfolio spent. And so then that last page is the document they would fill out for the stock market game. It would list their stocks, the ticker symbol, because they'll need the ticker symbol when they go to make their trades. They need to have thought about how they want to divvy up the money. That's the hardest thing. They got to divvy up that $100,000. And this isn't the only way to play the game. This is just the way that I encourage my kids to play the game. When I started, I didn't do it this way, and kids would just sort of dabble in it, 5,000 here, 5,000 there, or whatever. But it took too long. In the real world, we want to teach people, if you're going to invest for the future, the earlier you start investing, the better chance you have to have your money grow. So I try to make a plan up front to spend most, if not all, of their $100,000, have a plan put together, and then they can just go in on day one and buy their stocks and hopefully have a best chance to win. It could backfire on you. It's backfired on me. Obviously, in the spring, my teams did it in the spring, and we invested in February, and we got slaughtered. We lost at least $20,000 every team. So we got slaughtered because of the pandemic. But they learn that way too. I just think it's the best way to do it. I enjoy doing the candy party activity and this concept of just making a plan up front and buying your stocks. So Chandler, what I would like to try to attempt now is to make breakout rooms. And so this is where the stocks come in. When they go to put the stocks on their list, they don't have to use the ones on their cards, but at least everybody from the team comes to the table with 3 stocks on an index card. They can say, these are my 3 stocks. They might even have the same as somebody else on their team, but hopefully they'll have at least 3. Each person will have 3 unique stocks. These do not have to be the stocks they put on this last page. It's just a starting point. And a lot of times the kids don't use the ones. I guess they don't feel comfortable just blindfolding. They want to go with what they know. I mean, kids have overconfidence, it seems like. But they don't have to. I try not to tell the kids what to do. I mean, I don't ever tell the kids what to buy. They buy what they want to buy. And it doesn't really matter. They're learning regardless. But what I would like to try to do, Chandler, is a quick breakout room. We were running short on time, but a quick breakout room with your goal being, with the people in your group, your goal is to basically do what is, I guess, page 3 of the candy party activity, but not with candy. I want you guys to why don't you use the 3 stocks that you have written down, share everybody your 3 stocks. So if we have maybe 4 people in a breakout room, Chandler, that would be 12 stocks, and talk about how you would divide up your $100,000 among 12 stocks. Or you could just pick 2 of them. Say, oh, we only want these, or 3 of them. We only want these 3 stocks. Your group decide how many stocks out of your 12 that you want to use and how much money on each. And if somebody can be a scribe and put it into the chat, your stocks with the price, with how much money you're going to put next to each one. And I know this is super fast. We're running out of time. But if we could give, like 7-8 minutes for this, and if you could type some stuff in the chat, I think it would be good for you guys to have a chance to talk a little bit in a smaller group. What do you think, Chandler?
That's perfect. All right. So if you guys will join me back over on the Zoom screen. So we'll toggle between the 2 right now. But I'm getting ready to send out invites to what is called a breakout room. So you're going to get a notification on your Zoom screen. If you click it to join room, that's going to populate you in a room with 4 to 5 participants. And so you guys will have the opportunity to share out what stocks you picked and how they relate to this candy party activity. So we'll give you you wanted to give them about 3 minutes in the room or so, and we'll come back together. All right, sounds good. Enjoy your rooms.
Uh-oh, hope it didn't mess up. Because now I'm not in a breakout room, we're in a meeting. I guess we can leave the meeting and rejoin it maybe.
No, you're in the original meeting. Don't leave.
Okay, we're the only ones in. So Chandler must be in a breakout room too, I guess.
Yeah, because she's running it. She's probably in checking on one. This is the original meeting. We're in the right place. Don't leave.
Okay, thank you. Oh, I see some more people now. Cool. Hey, Chandler,
Yes.
are you bringing people back or is that how you?
I brought them all back. You're getting them back.
Cool, cool.
They will slowly start to come in. If they're in good conversation, sometimes it's hard to pull them back. So here we go.
All right, we're good.
Yep, we can keep going.
All right, so I was in one breakout room with 3 other lovely ladies, and they each had 3 different stocks for a total of 9 stocks. And sort of like what ends up happening with our kids, they just said, well, let's just split it evenly, 10,000 on 9 different ones and $10,000 for a rainy day. So those are the kind of questions and the thoughts that your kids are going to have. It's not easy. We had a great question. In the game, you can't put all your money, 100,000 on one stock. I believe it's about $30,000 is the max on any stock. So, and they could do, you know, $1,000 on 100 stocks, but obviously that's just going to be probably too much work. So that's why I try to keep them in the 10 to 12 stock range per team. All right, so let me get back to Nearpod and see what else I have for you. So I'll just quickly go through, we got like 5 minutes, I'm gonna quickly go through some other screens, not too much talking, but things that you should consider. You should consider having some way where you can display the results for the kids more than just a ranking. I like a line graph over time. I prepare this in Excel because I like it better, but it shows the different teams, their portfolio value. It shows some benchmarks, so a chance to explain what the S&P 500 benchmark is and what the Dow Jones benchmark is. Separate activities would be for having kids to go figure out what the 30 stocks are in the Dow Jones. They just had us change up here recently on 3 stocks. So lots of breakout lessons on benchmarks, and also to graph interest. And the interest line is this flat line that's barely moving. And it's not competitive with stocks in a good time. This was last fall, a great time to be investing. I had one team that started out gangbusters in the blue, but another team, the super money makers in the red, they caught them right at the end and moved ahead, and they actually got the trophies, and the team in the blue got nothing. Tough luck. You also, so this is important. So what I do with the way I share the username and passwords and how I have them track stuff is in a Google spreadsheet. So we can share this Google spreadsheet with you, just the bare bones. This one's a little too complicated for elementary kids, but it's a great one for older kids. And so every student is going to share, and on the team is going to share the spreadsheet. And this first page, there'll be different tabs on the bottom. And the first tab is a place where they can keep up with their money. So as they get interest or they get dividends, it adds to their cash. As they buy stocks, they enter in when they buy stocks, and it'll deduct their cash. So the game does it for them, but bookkeeping is a good skill to learn how to just keep up with their money, because if they're just randomly spending money, they're going to forget how much money they spent. So this is a good way to keep up with their money. But as far as logistics, I have the website, a link for the website. I give them their username and password in a spreadsheet. So it's much easier for them just to click and copy and paste it when they're entering, and when they're instead of typing it in when they're logging into the game. They can put their team name up there. They can have their individual names below it. So that's the first page. The second page, that the subsequent pages would be where they track their stocks. So again, they could, for any stock they have, they can go on the internet and find a graph immediately, but they need to do it on their own. So the Google spreadsheet is sort of set up for them. They just have to populate it. So they have to put in what company they bought, what's the ticker symbol, how many shares they bought, when they bought it. And then every week, they're going to put in the date, that day's date. They're going to look up the price that's on the internet, type it in, how many shares they have, and that'll calculate their current value. So they'll see their value changing. And then it'll also create a graph that graphs the price of the stock over time. So these are their entries, and they're doing it instead of just easy way out, just go to Google and see how it's been looking. So they can track their stocks and see how they're doing. And what will happen is they'll see sudden changes, like this stock went from here up to this top blue dot. And that'll trigger an investigation. Why did it change like that? Let's go to the news. Let's see if we can find why this company's stock changed. Was there some bad news? Was there some good news? And they can get current events information that way. And they can even like create a better portfolio, because the portfolio pie in the game is just blue for cash and orange for stocks. It's not very informative. They can create a pie chart for all their stocks. And that can lead into a presentation at the end to wrap up all their learning. I know we're not going to have much time, but you could look through this as one team. They made a slideshow about what they learned, and they included their pie and talked about the stocks they bought. I'm going to keep going. There's a lesson about mutual funds. We did get some information from SMG, the people that run this program. They're going to do a lot more stuff with people being virtual. I just got an email today about every Friday at 1 o'clock, they're going to have a little web session to update you about something in the news. They're going to have a Facebook page, I think, where people can go on and ask questions through Facebook. So there's a little more effort to help people in this virtual environment. And I'm going to turn it over to Chandler here, as it's 8 o'clock already. I'm sorry I'm taking too much time, but she's going to talk about how you can get some money by participating today.
Yes, so awesome. Thank you guys so much for sticking out with me. I'm going to take a couple more seconds of your time, and then I'm going to let you go. First of all, thank you, Stephen. Fantastic. I hope you guys got some ideas. Again, Stephen, focuses, he's got elementary school students, but as I told my small group, I have done all of these activities with middle school and high school kids. Everybody likes candy. And starting simple, getting that buy-in is so important. There's also no must do you have to do it this way in the stock market game. You can literally have your kids do it in any way, shape, or form that they want to. There's also no requirement beyond you have to teach this many lessons in order for them to participate. That is completely up to you. The only thing we require is that 2 weeks before the end of the game, that they made at least 3 transactions. That is the minimal requirement. And so I hope that you guys will, even if you just, stick your toes in, get your feet wet with it, that you will, definitely take some time to explore. Like Stephen said, they have really, really ramped up the Teacher Support Center on the stock market game. It includes a bunch of really short videos, some that are geared towards us, the instructors, but a lot that are actually even geared towards the students. So these are great things that in this virtual environment, we can send out and have our students watch and then get some feedback just to make sure they understand the basics. So all of those are out there for you. All right, that is a ton of information. Y'all, I am always available. If you have questions, I'm going to send out all of these cool activities that Stephen shared with us in a follow-up email tomorrow. I will also include Stephen's information if you guys want to reach out to him directly about any of those particular activities. But know that both of us will always be willing and able to support you through this process. Now, one of the cool things that, thank you for sticking in, and this is going to be worth you staying the 2 or 3 extra minutes. Stephen is one of our South Carolina Financial Literacy Master Teachers. We actually have quite a few in here today. Whoop, whoop. Shout out to you guys who are with us. Since you have attended this session, not only are you eligible for the 5 live sessions with SE Economics this fall, $100, just for attending this session, you are now eligible for an additional $100 if you fill out another form, big surprise, and teach a financial literacy lesson in your classroom. If you're going to do the stock market game in your classroom, guess what? You're teaching a financial literacy lesson in your classroom. In the follow-up email you get from me tomorrow, it will have all the details on how to do that. But more importantly, to get the 5, for the evaluation for tonight, to qualify for the 5, I have gone ahead and dropped that evaluation in the chat. Again, that will also come to you in the follow-up email tomorrow. I know it's late. You guys got a lot going on. But thank you for being here. Again, you guys are going to have 2 opportunities to earn money by being here with Stephen. Again, we really appreciate Stephen, you for being here. I'm going to hang out if you have questions. But if you have gotten the evaluation, you are good to go. And look for my follow-up email tomorrow. That's all I've got. Thank you.